Prior to this, James, medical provision for civilians in Gaza was already pretty terrible. What does this now mean for them?
I mean, we've seen 14 plus months of the systematic destruction of the Gazan healthcare system, which under the protracted occupation was actually a pretty robust healthcare system despite all of the constraints imposed upon it by the Israeli occupation. But 14 plus months of this, there is no functioning healthcare system. Our Palestinian colleagues, Palestinian healthcare workers are trying their absolute best under the most horrific conditions to provide care to severely unwell patients. We're talking about people with polytrauma as a result of Israeli airstrikes, all the way through to newborn premature babies. And they simply cannot provide the care that is required under the conditions that have been imposed upon them.
And in terms of other aid coming into the Strip, what are you hearing along those lines? Because, of course, we hear in the mainstream press about the limited resources still going into Gaza.
I mean, limited, I think, would be an overstatement. There is next to no humanitarian assistance entering into Gaza. So prior to October the 7th, 2023, we hear this statistic of 500 trucks a day. That was simply to sustain life. That was, of course, before the heightened needs that have been generated by the ongoing genocide. What's needed now is far more than has entered into Gaza for over 14 months. People are being quite literally systematically starved and dehydrated to death.
James, I have to ask, when it comes to hospitals and other buildings along those lines, the Israeli government would point to Hamas using them to hide behind. When you were there, when you were working in these places, did you see any of that?
No, Matt, and I think we need to systematically do away with these assertions. This is a military tactic that the Israeli forces have used to justify their attacks on pretty much every single healthcare facility in Gaza. They used it, of course, with Shifa. They've used it with almost every other essential healthcare facility in Gaza. There is no justification under international law for what is happening to Kamal Adwan and the healthcare workers, patients and civilians that are currently sheltering there.